And that's right, Kim. In fact, we're out in the garden today. We're not necessarily in the garden. We're at Summer Winds Nursery. I'm going to be up here between 10 and 11 doing a little talk. So I thought, well, I'm going to come on up, check out what they've got. Well, take a look right there. There's some more tomatoes, some Juliets and grape tomatoes. Both of them work out well. These are your smaller type tomatoes, folks. I talk about our short seasons. Short seasons equals smaller type of vegetables. So that's one thing you got to go with when we're growing out here in the desert Southwest, is most of the time we're growing smaller type fruit and vegetable because it gets so hot and gets so hot quickly. The other thing, well, we're doing a lot of different types of planting of fruit trees. You're taking a look at a couple right here. This is an Anna apple. Now, why is it important to grow an Anna apple out here? These are, again, short season variety type of apples. They have a low chill requirement, which means we don't have to get real cold to produce fruit. Take a look at that flower. Isn't that just beautiful? And they've espaliered these, so you can put this in an area that's fairly protected. So like maybe almost, an eastern facing wall or something that gets an afternoon shade, that's going to be a perfect situation for something like this. Behind it, well, you can see some sweet peas growing. A little late this time of year to be growing those guys, but doing very well. And here's one of my favorite type of, well, for lack of better terms, I call it a vegetable flower edible plant, but you can see it right back there, and that's an Alaskan nasturtium. That's the first time I've seen one in a while, but it's one that's growing out in their little garden out here. They've got a lot of examples of gardens and how to grow a lot of different types of companion plants. But some other things you want to grow out here is, of course, a lot of citrus trees. Now, this is very important. When you're growing these guys and you're growing these types of trees, and this is one of the biggest problems we have out here in the desert Southwest, we want to make sure that we're seeing root flare. I don't know if you can see that right in here, where you see the roots are actually flaring out from the trunk of the tree itself. If the tree is buried too deep, like the one right next to it right here, invariably you're going to see a failure to thrive. And that's a situation I see more and more often, where we're planting our trees way too deep. So even though they're in the bucket, doesn't necessarily mean they're planted at the right height. So it's very important that you think about that when you're planting these trees out here. The other thing, you want to make sure these are all grafted variety trees. And this is the graft line right out here. This is one type of tree, this is another type of tree, and this is the root system. Most of our trees are grafted on the sour orange rootstock. Very important that you get a tree along those lines. A lot of times when you're going to a lot of the big box stores, they're not grafted on the right type of rootstock. So when you're purchasing these types of trees, especially those citrus trees, it's very important you think along those lines. Last but not least, I want to just show off these different types of figs. And you can see the turkey, or the brown turkey, Cadota, and of course the black mission, which is one of my favorite. This is a tree that is bulletproof out here, and it does very well in our hot extreme temperatures, and it will forever give you that fruit for as long as, I've seen some that are up to almost 100 years old. Need a little bit of fertilization. If you have one right now, put a little bit of manure on it, and you're gonna be on your way. When we get back, we're gonna talk a lot about the different types of flowers you wanna put in, especially for the coming hot weather. We'll be back with more Good Morning Arizona right after this.